Today's episode is filled with key points to increase your email open rate. You've come to the right place to make your business smarter and more efficient, one email at a time. Stay tuned for the Fitness Business Podcast. What value do you get from our guests and episodes? We'd love for you to post it and tag us on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Use a call to action, start your subject line with a number, and include brackets in your subject line. These are only 3 of the many strategies that my guest, Jay Schwedelson, delivers to boost your open rate when it comes to member emails. Jay Schwedelson is the owner of subjectline.com, which is a free online subject line rating tool. Come on, join me, Dory Nugent, and Jay Schwedelson for the next 30 minutes as we dive into how to get your emails opened. First, a huge shout out to Hapana for supporting our show.
This podcast is brought to you by Hapana. Hapana is a cutting-edge membership management solution prioritizing insane engagement. Hapana puts your brand first so you can facilitate deep, meaningful connections with clients and members to book, pay, consume content, and build community. Hapana partners with fitness brands in both the boutique and big box segments that want to drive efficient operations and maximum engagement with clients and members. And they do this by providing direct world-class support with a passionate team who cares about your success. To see how you can transform your brand, go to hapana.com and ask for a demonstration. Hapana, engineered for engagement.
I love the Hapana family, and I know you will too. Give them a chance. Go to www.hapana.com.
Get your pen ready now for MyZone's FitBizspiration.
What are your top 3 tips for boosting results from email campaigns?
All right, awesome. First, focus on the subject line. It's super important, right? Put the most important part of your subject line at the start of your subject line. Capitalize the first word. That's going to be a win. Put numbers at the start of your subject line. Win. Test out emojis. Win. Exclamation point at the end. Use things in your subject line to stand out. Number 2, think about your call to action buttons inside your message. That's the long rectangular box that you're using to drive people to your destination pages. They can't say boring things like register. It needs to say save my spot or I want in or start my 30-day free trial, all in that button. And then the last thing, when they get to your destination page, you're trying to get them to fill out that cart and to sign up, put a testimonial, put a quote, okay, right near that submission button. Okay, where you have one person, or it could be a 5-star review, where one person says, "This is the greatest gym I've ever been to. I love this gym." Just one quote, because we all that's social proof. That last moment of, you know what, somebody else did this and they enjoyed it. We don't even realize it, but subconsciously, it really impacts whether somebody decides to subscribe, buy, download, do whatever. Okay, so putting it right near that button where people are going to be registering or signing up will increase your overall conversion rate substantially. All of this costs nothing, takes 5 seconds to try, and it should improve your results.
Stepping up to the mic next week is Cam Falloon. Cam is the owner of Body Fit Training, and a fun fact here, he was once Princess Diana's personal trainer. Cam will be my quick fire 5 guest this week, and he's going to invite you to his episode, Building Community for Fitness Business Success.
Health club leaders, you work hard to ensure your members have the very best fitness experience, right? You need personal trainers who do the same. Become a preferred partner with ISSA, and we'll deliver the best trainers in the industry to your club in a matter of days, fully certified and ready to work. And we'll help you keep those trainers by offering them exclusive discounted pricing on ISSA certifications. Because when your trainers stay, so do your valued members. Becoming a preferred partner with ISSA is absolutely free. Click above or visit issaonline.com/fitbiz to get trainers now.
Let's get started with this week's interview with Jay Schwedelson. Welcome to our episode today on the Fitness Business Podcast. I have industry expert Jay Schwedelson as our guest today. Jay, thank you so much for coming on to the Fitness Business Podcast.
Awesome. Excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
So Jay, you are the founder of subjectline.com, which is a free subject line rating tool. I couldn't get that.
You nailed it. You said it perfectly, I think.
All right. And you're also the founder, I believe, of Guru Events, correct?
Yes, that's right.
So we're gonna talk about that in a little bit because I do want you to tell our FBP family about that. But first, you're here today to really educate our FBP family on how to get the emails open. You're going to tell us that emails are still super important, but you're going to tell us exactly how to strategize to get a high rate open, correct?
Absolutely. 100%. Should we jump right into that?
Yeah. So here's my first question for you. Many of our FBP family, they probably listened to episode, I think it was 470. I had a guest on, his name was Corey Hibben, and he shared about the fact that just in general, that email lists are still a great marketing tool with, current members in the gym and also prospects. But the list, I'm going to assume, is useless if no one opens it. So in simple terms, Jay, what are the key components to having someone open our emails and then read them?
Okay, that's an awesome question. I'm glad you're talking about opening up the email because what most marketers do is they have it backwards. They spend 90% of their time on what's inside the email. Oh, the most beautiful images, the best copy, the greatest offer. And then they go to send out, they go, oh, we need a subject line. What should it be? And they spend 4 seconds. And they come up with a horrible subject line that is super boring and nobody opens up their email. And it's backwards because if somebody doesn't open your email, who cares? Who cares what's inside your email? So that subject line is more than just one little line of text. It is the linchpin as to why your email gets open or doesn't get open. And there are little things that you could do in that subject line that will completely change the engagement. How many people are opening or not opening up your emails? And we can talk about that right now.
Yeah, go for it. We are so excited.
Oh my God, I'm excited.
You have us on the edge of our seat.
Oh my God, yeah, it's very exciting. So first of all, the subject line. The most important thing is always think about the start of your subject line. When you have something that you're going to say, it can't be at the end. Nobody cares about the end. Nobody's reading to the end. And you also have to think about people are scanning their emails, right? You have a millisecond to grab their attention. So what you do in those first few characters of the subject line are absolutely essential. So a few things that you can do that will instantly change results in your subject line. Number one is some form of urgency. I don't mean saying this is urgent, but making sure that you are letting the person know, especially for offer-related emails, right? You're promoting an offer. There's 2 days left, last chance, offer ends today. Anything that you could do to say, this thing is not going to always be available. Human nature is we want the thing that's not going to always be there, right? And even if your offer doesn't expire, you want to say things like don't miss out or hurry. Urgency is key in the subject line, okay? The second thing that works incredibly well that people don't do often enough is telling people who they are. What do I mean by that? When you can tell somebody who they are quickly, they all of a sudden realize that this email is for me and not for everybody else. Okay, so you could say to somebody on a new diet, okay, on a new fitness plan, looking to get in shape, looking to get stronger. Are you trying to get healthier? You're speaking. The reason these people are on your list is not by happenstance. They just fall onto your list, right? They are in some sort of life mode that they want to better themselves, or they want to get to a certain level in their fitness or performance, whatever it may be. Telling the person who they are as quickly as you can will change performance. Now, putting aside those tactics, let's talk about elements in the subject line. You can use things like emojis, right? Emojis at the start of your subject line can really boost performance. 94% of all receiving email systems can view emojis properly. Now, you probably say emojis are stupid, they're embarrassing, it's what my teenage kids send me. I'm not doing that. An emoji is just a symbol so you could stand out. Now, don't use an eggplant or a peach because that's bad. But beyond that, right, if you can use an emoji, it's going to grab the person's attention for a second, right? And then they're going to read the rest of what you have to do there. You can also use brackets, right? Put your offer at the start of the subject line, capitalize that first word, that boosts your performance, put it in brackets. okay, and say, super discount in brackets, and then talk about the rest of your subject line. Use exclamation point, use numbers, use a stat. A stat in your subject line instead of whatever your offer is a great way to get higher engagement. 28% of people aren't doing this type of exercise. 74% of people have tried this, ... That's another great tactic. And then I will shut up. ... at the end of your subject line, creating suspense. When you go to Amazon's emails, you'll see ... at the end of a lot of their subject lines, 3 periods, because they're creating that suspense. And all this may sound like a gimmick, but at the end of the day, it's these little things, believe it or not, that will boost your open rates, your performance, your engagements by 20, 30, 40%, and it costs you nothing. So that's for the win. That was a lot. I got to shut up.
No, that was great. That was great information. You packed a lot of information in that. That was awesome. Great answer. Now let's go with days and times that it's best to send your email campaign.
That's an awesome question, because what we do is we have what I would call confirmation bias, right? You'll send out an email, okay? You'll send it out at Tuesday at 8 a.m. and it'll do really well this week, okay? It'll have a really good performance for you. Then you're like, all right, that's it. I'm married to Tuesday at 8 a.m. because it worked this one time 6 months ago, and that's what you stay with, and that makes no sense, okay? Because what you want to be doing is realizing that people operate differently. I read my email like super early in the morning. Some people read their email, at night. So if you're only sending your email at, let's say, a particular time in the morning, you're not catering to different populations within your database, okay? And also we have to think about is the different types of email you're sending out. There's offer-related emails. You're promoting something new, okay? And then there's, let's say, your newsletter, which is a content-driven email. Right? Your newsletters generally always are going to get consumed, generally speaking, around 10 or 11, sometimes even on the weekends. It does really well. Whereas your offer emails will probably be much earlier in the morning. They tend to do a lot better, that 7 to 8 a.m. time zone. But the other thing about send times and days is you're not going to agree with me on this, but that's okay. You're probably not sending enough email. You're like, wait a minute, you don't know how much I send out a lot, I'm abusing my list, I'm hitting it so often, I get unsubscribes. No, you need to be sending out your email more. Obviously, it has to be relevant, has to be compelling, you have to have good information. But if you're not sending out your emails enough, okay, you're not going to generate enough engagement to actually stay in the inbox, to actually build up a relationship with your end user. So beyond what you hear that you should only send it out this, that, whatever, you need to be sending out literally a couple times a week.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. I would have never have thought that. I would have thought that was like too much.
One thing that you may want to think about is, let's talk about the from line if we can for a second, the from address. When you send out your email, okay, let's say I have a gym. It's called Jay's Gym. Okay, the email I send my email from might be offers@jaysgym.com. Okay, but then I put on what's called an alias or a friendly from, which is the from name, right? So instead, it doesn't show up as offers@jaysgym.com. It shows up as Jay's Gym, right? We all put on a from name on top of our email address. We do that with our personal emails as well. What marketers don't always realize is you can change that from name every single time you send out an email. You're not changing your address. That still stays the same. You're changing the alias, or what they call the friendly from, on your email address that you're sending out. Now, why does this matter? When you use that friendly from every time you send out an email, and you don't have it just be generic, it doesn't just say Jay's Gym, right? It could say Jay's Gym diet plan, Jay's Gym 5K, Jay's Gym, new members. Okay, when you use that friendly from to have it be tied to what the content of your email is, okay, two things happen. One is you instantly are creating interest with the recipient, right? Like, oh, it's not just a generic email, it's about that. And it increases engagement. But number two, it gives you a license to send out more, because the recipient isn't like, oh, I'm getting another email from Jay's Gym. They're like, oh, this email is Jay's Gym about the 5K they're doing. This email, Jay's Gym, is for new members. This one's about their, newsletter. And it gives you the ability to send out more, have higher engagement overall, And there is not an email sending platform on planet Earth that you can't do this with every single time. When you go into your setup, just look for from name. It's not going to impact your deliverability. It's not going to have anything negative will happen, and it costs you nothing, and it takes 5 seconds.
Okay, tell us one more time where we go in to make this change.
Okay, so when you go to set up your email send, whatever platform you're on, it could be on HubSpot or MailChimp or Constant Contact or the Man in the Moon, it doesn't matter. Okay, you go in there, and when you're in there, you see your subject line that you want to put in, right? And then it shows you the from address that's coming from. The from address is the actual email address. You don't want to mess with that, right? Leave that, whatever you've been sending from. But then right above or below that, literally the line above or below that, it's going to say from name. Okay, and the from name is going to be what appears in people's inboxes. You could literally have that say howdy doody. Okay, you have it say whatever you want it to say, right? And that's where you want to really be creative and use that real estate, which is super valuable. When you go back to your inbox, I want you to look at all the from names that you get, right? So I have one email address with Apple, just one. When I get emails from them, it might say, App Store, it might say Apple Music, right? It might say Apple TV. It says Apple whatever. It's all coming from the same delivery address behind the scenes, but they change that from name depending on what the topic of the email is. And that's why as a recipient, I don't feel like Apple's sending me 6 emails a day. To me, in my mind, there's 6 different things. And that's how you win, right? By promoting different things, establishing that relevancy fast, and driving higher engagement. So when people say email's dead, it doesn't work for me, I get low open rates, you're not doing the little things that add up to big change.
This is eye-opening. I'm eye-opening. Didn't know any of this. Maybe my FBP listeners out there are way smarter than me, and they're like, oh, this is old news, but thank you for that piece of information. So let's talk about BIMI.
Okay, let's talk about it. I think it's, okay, so BIMI is where, I'll make it real simple. You go into your inbox and there's a little circle sometimes next to the sender's name. Okay. And sometimes you see it's graphical and it looks like a logo. And other times it doesn't. It's like a boring circle. And so a lot of people on the BIMI train to say, do all this stuff to make sure your logo shows up there. And here's the story. I'm going to be real. It's a giant pain in the butt. It's a giant pain in the butt to get BIMI set up. I'm not lying. Okay. And you want to do it great. We'll give you a boost a little bit. I think if you're going to focus your energy, there's 74 other things to focus your energy on as it relates to email. They'll give you more of a boost. So to me, hit up BIMI when you've literally done everything else. That's my vibe. That doesn't mean it's right, but that's how I feel.
Okay. So BIMI is not your
hard. It's hard to do. And like everybody that's listening here, I guarantee you almost nobody, when they wake up, they're like, oh man, I'm an email marketer. That's not their vibe. They're like, I own a business or I'm running marketing or I'm doing 75 different things. And they literally are wearing 400 hats. And their email marketing hat is on for a sliver of the day, if at all, right? And they're like, what are the things I could do the fastest, have the greatest impact? And that's what we want to prioritize. Like subject line, easy. From name, easy. Free header, easy. The buttons in your email, the call to action buttons, what the words are on those, easy. What's going on the landing page that you can update to make it do better, easy. BIMI, hard, annoying. So don't do it.
All right, BIMI it is. Not our best tool, not our best way to spend our time.
Right.
All right. You talked a little bit earlier about subject lines. I want to go back to subject lines. And again, just give us your best tips on subject lines. And then I also want to talk about, or I want you to talk about the free rating tool of subject lines that you have on your website.
Yeah, sure. Well, you know what? Words are really important in subject lines. They're always changing. Okay, they're always changing what words are actually driving performance. I'll give you examples of words that are doing really well. But first off, I want to liberate everybody. When you go to Google, if you Google things like spam trigger words, right? Everyone's heard of spammy words. Okay, and then what people do, which is a giant mistake, is they try to avoid certain words in the subject line. So for example, they'll say, we can't put the word free in the subject line. We're going to go to the junk folder because 10 years ago, before technology changed, the reason you went to the junk or spam folder was because of certain words that are spammy words that you would put in the subject line or the body copy. That's not the reason you go to the junk folder. That's old news. That's total garbage. Here's a fact. 20% of all email, I don't care if you're the NFL, Amazon, IBM, who cares, are going to go to the junk folder or the spam folder. So don't bang your head against the wall when there are a few emails that go to the junk folder. It's part of email marketing. There's 100 reasons why. And it's not because you put the word free or an exclamation point or an emoji in the subject line. That's old news. But getting back to words that do work, I'll give you an example of something recently that's doing really well. 101, putting 101 in the subject line. When I say 101 to you, what does it mean? It means that this is the basics, right? If I say the 101 about weightlifting, right? It says the basics. It is doing incredibly well in the subject line to use 101 as an example for any topic, because we all have, imposter syndrome on whatever it is in our lives, right? We're faking it. We have no idea what we're talking about at all. And especially in the gym, when I go to the gym, I pretend like I know what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. And when you do 101 about, shoulder press or 101 about, using the Peloton, I have no idea. You're telling the person, listen, I know you're clueless, but we're going to hook you up. We're going to give you the information. And people get excited about that because they feel empowered, right? Little things like that make a huge, huge difference. And especially in your world, any type of stat in the subject line is key. So starting your subject line with a number, okay, is actually essential. So you don't want to put it towards the end. Start that subject line with a number, and that will do really well. But words really do have a big impact. So one of the reasons we created this website, subjectline.com, which is 100% free, we've checked 15 million subject lines. You go there, you put in your subject line, it tells you how good or bad it is in terms of how it should or should not do with all these different rules. So it's kind of fun. It's really just a starter, though. It's just starting you on that journey of writing a better subject line. The reason we spend so much time on it is it really can change your overall performance. And then, of course, once you open it, you got the buttons in the email, the landing page, all sorts of stuff. So, yeah.
So if we do emojis and numbers, exclamation mark, ... all in the subject line, we're going to have 100% open rate. That's what you're talking about.
400%. Yes. It'll be 472% open rate. That's right. You nailed it.
Okay, Jay, let's work our way down. We've spent a lot of time on the from. You've spent a lot of time on the subject line. Let's talk about the body of the email. Any tips on the layouts and how we can get people to read what we send?
Yeah, good question. So first off, nobody cares. What I mean by that is nobody cares about anybody says, not even just an email, in life, literally nobody cares about what you're saying. Nobody cares about what I'm saying right now. And the reason I say this is because we're all very verbose. We think that whatever we're saying is relevant and that we need to get it all out, but you don't, okay? Email, it's like, you ever get a text from like a family member or a friend? It's a big block of text. You're like, whoa. And you're like, I'm not reading that right now. And you put that off to the side because it's like, you don't even care what it says. It's like a lot of words, like, whoa, right? And that's the same thing in email, right? If you open up an email and there are a lot of words in one paragraph, there's no chance you're investing in this. People barely opened it, right? They don't want to invest in it. So when you're sending out an email, there can never be more than 75 words in a paragraph. Ever. Okay, what you really want to do is bullet things out, as few words as possible, lots of space. Okay, and believe it or not, you really don't want to have that many images. You want to have like one or two giant hero images, and that is the secret sauce. Here's another thing that most marketers don't realize. Your logo, okay, when you send an email, we all got our logo on our thing. About 20% of all the clicks that take place in the email that you send out will be on your logo. You're like, who cares? But when you send out an email and you have an offer, you're promoting something. Every time you send out an email, you have to say to yourself, I hope this happens. So you have an offer. I hope I get a lot of people signing up for this thing. Like there's a reason you're sending out the email, right? And you're like, I hope this happens. So you're driving people to a specific destination, hoping that that thing happens. If 20%, if 1 in 5 clicks are happening on your logo, I guarantee a large portion of the listeners say your logo is sending them to your homepage, not the destination page of your offer. So you want to take all the click activity in your message and drive them to the destination page of where you want them to take advantage of whatever it is that you're promoting. You need to think about every conduit to response so you get that good response. You don't want to lose 1 in 5 clicks on something like that. So everything matters.
So are you saying that in the body of the email, don't necessarily in the body of the email, right? Click here for information. You're talking about in the signature where the logo is?
I'm talking about usually somewhere in the up top, in the top left, or anywhere. We all have our logo. Like it's just part of our format, right? It's not even necessarily, it could be anywhere. And generally speaking, we get a lot of clicks on our logo, and we're not thinking about where every click goes. And we got to do that. And then there are other little things in there. For example, let's say you do a letter format email, which do great, right? PS, having a PS underneath your letter format email does really well. It gets about a 15% extra click-through rate. And why is that? Because we actually don't read the emails. We get the email, what's it about? Don't care. Oh, what's the PS? And we look at the PS. So adding a PS and trying to drive additional push to your offer or to something else, easy win, costs you nothing. But let's talk about what you just brought up, the click here. So you're going to have a rectangular button, right? Click here, register, download, whatever, right? That button changes performance. What the words are on that button change performance. When you have words like register, you're telling somebody what to do. You're not stating a benefit to them. Like when you tell somebody register, it's like, screw you. What do you mean register? I don't want to register. What's in it for me? What you want to do is state the benefit or whatever it is that you're promoting right there in that big rectangular button. And that rectangular button could be really long. It could say, start my free trial, start my free membership, start my 30-day boot camp. Okay. Save my spot. Whatever it is you want to say in that call to action button, you want to get the person excited in that moment about doing the thing that you're promoting. You don't want to tell the person, download, register. It's like, ugh. Even like the word submit, which I think is the weirdest word in all of marketing. It's like submit. Like, what are we talking about here? Right. So think about everything that you can do to get the person more excited about what it is that you're promoting.
You're funny.
I almost started laughing.
I wish our FBP family could see you when you said the word submit. Your hands went up and you had this face. I'm sorry. You're funny.
It's weird. It's weird. Like why does every website in the world have the word submit on it? Like, do we not all be like, hello, what are you into? I don't know. It's strange.
All right. So you went over the links. You've covered a lot of ground for us. Now,
I know, I talk fast.
When I introduced you, I said that you're the founder of subjectline.com, and you did speak briefly about that. But you're also the founder of Guru Events. And I know before we started recording, we talked a little bit about Guru Events. And I'm like, I think our FBP family would like to hear about it. So tell us, or tell our FBP family, what is Guru Events?
Yeah, cool. So it's one of our companies. Guru Events puts on very large scale, 100% free virtual marketing conferences. So for example, we have one coming up called Guru Conference. You can go to guruconference.com. It is the world's largest virtual email marketing event. It's 2 days, 30 speakers, the best people on the planet speaking about how to do email with the latest trends and all this stuff. We had 13,000 people at the event last year. And it's super cool because it gives you all these little tips. And literally, if you can carve out 2 days, and it's free, there's no cost, right? If you can carve out 2 days and attend this thing, I promise you, your email performance is going to get better. So that's guruconference.com. And we have a second event called Delivered Conference. You can go to deliveredconference.com. Same idea, giant event, 2 days, virtual, free, all about direct mail, because direct mail is not dead. It's doing great. So we put on these very large scale virtual marketing events really to just share the latest best practices, because it drives me bananas, right? You'll sit there and say, email. Here's what you never want to do with email. If you're like putting it all together and you think it stinks, whatever, and you say these words, just get it out. Just get it out. Just send it out. Don't do that. Okay, that's where everything goes to die, right? Do the little things, and I promise you it will add up to better performance. That's my soapbox.
Oh, that's a good soapbox. Well, you know what, Jay, were so much fun, lots of information, and we're going to have our FBP family. I'm sure they probably have a zillion questions to ask you that I am not hit upon. So we'll put all of your contact information in our show notes so they can reach out to you and maybe ask you for additional tips and advice. Are you good with that?
I'm totally good with that. Also, please, I don't know if you're all on LinkedIn. I share way too much stuff on LinkedIn. Connect with me. Let's hang out. I love LinkedIn. I love all of you. I'm going to go and eat very healthy tonight and work out immensely because I'm inspired by this podcast. So there you go.
Wait, I have to just tell our FBP family, a lot of things always happen behind scenes before we record, but this was funny, FBP family. When I first clicked on here with Jay, the first thing he said was, do I have to be like fit and into fitness in order to do this podcast? Because he's like, I'm not. And
I'm not terrible. You're not going to like look me up and be like, oh my God, that guy's a gargantuan. I mean, I'm a regular sized human being, but like, I didn't know if I had to be like, I don't know, some sort of like speed walker, which I technically am, I guess.
Yeah, because if our FBP family listened to your Quickfire 5 last week, they heard that you run. You said you're a jogger.
I thank you for calling me a jogger. I'm going to get that tattooed on me, and I'm going to tell my wife she'll be very proud of me. I am a very slow jogger, fast walker, so you might not see me in the Olympics.
All right, Jay. Well, listen, we might not see you in the Olympics, but we saw you here on the Fitness Business Podcast. Thank you so much for your time. Your information was just fantastic, and I'm sure it will be very, very helpful to all of our operators out there listening. Never again will I just throw together an email. I will definitely be using Jay's free subject line rating tool so my emails get opened. Don't forget to check out subjectline.com. I will also post this link along with Jay's contact info on our show notes. They can be found at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. And while you're there, hit that subscribe button so the show notes will be sent directly to your inbox going forward. Up next, Cam Falloon from Body Fit Training.
G'day, it's JT here, and I was talking to Blair McCaney, the CEO of one of our sponsors, MX Metrics, the other day, and I gave him a hard time about his company's tagline, defeating mediocrity. By definition, that means he's excluding the majority of the market, but Blair just wouldn't budge. He only wants to work with operators who want to punch mediocrity in the face, really smash it. So I've talked to a few of his customers, like Joe Shirelli from Gainesville Health and Fitness, and yeah, it's for real. While Joe is a nice guy, he isn't satisfied with mediocrity either. He's crushing it as well. So I'm still dubious about selling only to operators who want to defeat mediocrity, but if this resonates with you, I reckon you should check them out. Go to mxmetrics.com. But remember, only if you're interested in smashing mediocrity.
Quickfire 5, sponsored by Hapana.
It's time to learn a couple fun facts about industry expert Cam Falloon. That's right, Fitness Business Podcast family. It is time for our Quickfire 5. And guess who I have with me today? I have Cam Falloon with us. Cam is the founder of Body Fit Training. They have currently 250 open locations, and they are on target to have a total of 560 locations globally. Cam, welcome to the Quickfire 5.
Thanks, Dory. Great to see you, and appreciate you taking the time to have me on the podcast.
We are excited for your episode next week, but first, we are going to get to know who Cam is. So Cam, you're going to start off by telling our entire Fitness Business Podcast family your top guilty pleasure.
My guilty pleasure is actually a Scotch whiskey on the rocks most nights with a couple of pieces of Whittaker's coconut chocolate. If you haven't tried it, look it up. Whittaker's coconut chocolate. It is absolutely divine, and that's my reward after a long day, as long as I've trained and as long as I've worked hard.
I think a lot of our listeners right now are dying. They're like, yes, now that is a guilty pleasure. Love it. All right. Question number 2. What is a habit or an action you do to help you be productive?
I actually, most nights before bed, I look at what's coming up the next day, and I set my lists, my priorities and agenda. And if I don't do that the night before, I'm usually an early starter. I get in at work at sort of 6:30 in the morning when no one's around. I've got quiet, and I can really set my day up, and I just get I can think of a lot of satisfaction out of actually going through a list and just being able to tick it and go, I've achieved that, I've achieved that, I've achieved that, and not just get bogged down into the day-to-day and in the weeds every day.
Good. Yeah, set yourself up for success. I like it. Now we're going to move on to question number 3. What activity calms you?
Yeah, that's a good question. My mind races 100 miles an hour, so I like any activity where I guess it forces me to practice mindfulness in terms of fully immersing myself and forcing me to not be distracted. So activities like mountain biking, where you have to be fully immersed in that activity or things can go wrong, surfing, those types of things I love doing. Weight training is a great, for me, form of mindfulness. When you're lifting heavy weights, you need to really be in the moment. So anything that keeps me in the moment, that doesn't allow my mind to drift to work and things like that.
Okay, good. You know, it's funny, whenever we do these quick fire 5 questions, I always think about what my answers would be. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I have an answer for that. So I'm glad nobody's asking me these questions. All right, here we go. This is an oldie but goodie. Could you please recommend to all of our FBP family out there a book that you just absolutely love?
Tribe of Mentors by Tim Ferriss. No brainer for me. If you haven't read it, it's lots of short stories from lots of people from various walks of life who have had success and or failures. But what it does is gives you some quick snippets and insights that then you've got, 100 different people that you can then follow and pursue and maybe read their books or through the internet track their journey. So I like that element of it, that it's not just one theme in a book, it's lots of themes, and it then leads to more reading and more learning.
All right, that's a good one. I don't believe we've had that one before, so we will make sure we get that book in our show notes, and we'll put a link on it so that our FBP family can click on there and just purchase themselves a copy through Amazon. Excellent.
Brilliant. Podcast has already been worth it.
All right, Cam, are you ready? I'm going to hand the mic over to you, and you get about 30 seconds to pitch your episode that is coming on the show next week.
Sure. I guess if you want to listen to someone who's had 29 years of experience in the industry, I've been fortunate to walk in various roles and forms of life in this industry, from gym instructor, group exercise instructor, personal trainer, doing exercise rehabilitation, working with orthopedics, working as an elite strength and conditioning coach with elite athletes nationally and internationally, and have been able to, I guess, harness all of that knowledge and information and experience and bring it into the commercial space and develop BFT. That's what you're going to get on this podcast. I'm pretty open and transparent, sometimes too honest. These are just my views, so don't take offense. But it's 30 years of experience from someone who's walked in many shoes in terms of roles in the industry. But few people, I think, have worked for 15 years where their livelihood has been predicated off a win or a loss every week with a sporting team, and that brings a unique perspective and lens on the skills and the attributes and the values that I bring from that elite sporting life into body fit training in the commercial space. So if that at all interests you, dial in and listen, and hopefully you get something out of it.
Cam brings a great energy that I think you will appreciate. He's passionate about fitness, just like you. Plus, he delivers an uplifting episode about bringing people together in the community. Subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player, or even better yet, let us do the work for you and we'll send you the show. Subscribe to the podcast at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. The Fitness Business Podcast has some amazing companies that we partner with, and we could not do our show without them. So I'd like to take a minute to thank them. Thank you, first of all, to our founding partner, Active Management. Our partners, MyZone, BodyMap, ISSA, as well as Hapana. And I'd also like to thank our advertisers, Rex Roundtables and MX Metrics. We believe what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but woven into the lives of others.